And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Sorry, microphone is not in the right place. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of a spite and the Streisand effect because people on Facebook really need to watch us more often and, engage in discussion because they'll learn something. Part of this is follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble pretty much everywhere under that name. You can find me pretty much everywhere that way, Shujin. Let me introduce you. We've got a little bit of a truncated panel, and there's reasons. Top left-hand corner. No, it's not. Top left-hand corner of the bingo card. Up there in, well, not quite Nunavut. Good evening, Dalan.
Not quite Nunavut.
No, not quite.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm further than Nunavut than I am from you.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. South of me over into Pittsburgh. Good morning, Joey.
I'm not sure you'd call it good.
But you're there.
More or less.
And just to the side from him, outside of, oh my God, they do still have a job, don't they? Why? Good morning, UnrenownedTech.
Hi. I've had sugar. Can you tell?
Yes, I couldn't up until you said it, but I've got some of my own. Well, yeah, there's not much left.
Is yours fermented sugar?
No.
Forgive me if I'm just a little bit aloof right now. I surprisingly just woke up a short bit ago.
Oh,
yeah. Glad you're EJ. He might be a hoof.
Well, no, actually, no. There's nothing wrong with being aloof. The world needs more loofs these days.
Don't we already have a loof?
I had expected to be up about like 6 or 7 hours ago, and everything's just a little weird right now. I slept way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we need to see what we can do about that. Anyway, so for those of you that have been normally watching the show, which means those of you who need therapy, yeah, we're down a couple of hosts at the moment. Heretic Woman has to get up early today morning. So she's decided, yeah, I need to sleep. Sorry. Don't blame you. I do not know where Joseph or Brigid are, as a matter of fact. I did see them on, they're over there on Facebook. Recently active. I don't know what happened to them, but it's okay. It could be that they just sleep it and just the way that it is. That's okay. But we will, of course, as always, do our thing, which is, complain about shit, because that's what we do. Those of you that are watching live, of course, thank you very much. Join us over on the live chat. Let us know how we're doing, and feel free to let us know what you think. Aubrey, good to see you over there. Trippin', hi. I don't know where the live chat is. It's probably over on this side, so we'll kind of work it from there. And of course, if you'd like to be just chatting over there on the Discord server, yes, that is up and running. And hey, on the air. Yeah, I got somebody who's poking me over there on Discord, and they're like, "Hey, I want to show you something." I'm busy. Chances are they probably already know, and they're just having fun at my expense. So. That's kind of the way that it's going to be. Okay, maybe not. Because they're like, oops, sorry. That's great. Aces, thanks. Appreciate that. So, it's gonna be one of those nights. So for those of you that are kind of wondering how things are going over here, overall things are okay. We're doing fine for the most part. It's good to be back. And I told you guys last week that I'm still having a little bit of a problem figuring out what to do topic-wise. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I screwed up this week's topic. I didn't. See, I was going to, I had it all set in my head what I was going to go ahead and write. And then I wrote up the show's topic last night after we got done with our Friday night show, which was putting me at about 3 a.m. because I promised myself I would do it before I went to sleep. And it was a bad idea because I couldn't remember what it was I wanted to do. But I also did figure out this morning after I looked over what I had typed up and realized, hey, I typed it right. Autocorrect didn't screw me over. And I posted it to all the right social links. Great. Oh, crap. Now how do I put all the stuff that I was supposed to put in there? We can do this. We can do this. We can make this happen. It'll be fine. Right, Yamix? It'll be fine. It's fine. It's fine. Some people get that idea. And Layla, got you over there on Discord. So yeah,
it's a good thing that autocorrect didn't get you, because that actually got a buddy of mine at work this week.
Yeah,
she sent a text message on her phone to somebody stating that now you realize it's just about everybody I work with is in the IT field, which means we know our abbreviations, we know what kinds of cables we need and what they go with.
Yeah.
So when somebody gets a text message from a fellow IT worker from across the country stating, and I quote, "We need an HTML cable," it's a pretty solid assumption that there wasn't. Autocorrect? Yes, very much autocorrect. Although how it decided to substitute HDMI for HTML, dear manufacturer of phone, because I don't know if it was an iPhone or an Android, you suck, no love, me.
Yeah, I got a similar message from somebody this week too. I'm not going to name names because they don't need that, but I will say I'm very glad that I read typoes. I'm very, very glad.
Yeah, and it's kind of a sad thing these days. As someone who is a fan of the written word, as many of you guys well know, yeah, when I see a lot of the stuff that's out there, yes, I'm glad I can read it, but it still gives me a headache.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm totally on board with you on this one.
Yeah.
And by the way, Trippin, have you tried turning it off and back on again? No, God, no. I would much rather have a typo that's spelled correctly than a typo that's spelled incorrectly and show how much of an idiot I actually am.
It just makes you human.
Yeah, that's, you know what? These days, that's, actually, kind of, sorry. I forgot my blue hat. Because, I'm fighting the red hats with my blue hat. It's important, and I keep it right here, Nick, on my my printer holds various blue things. Shut up. Sure, it was a good movie.
I just remember when Red versus Blue was like a cute little internet show about Halo.
Yeah, those were the days.
Machinima. It's called Machinima.
Yes,
I was a sponsor for years for Red versus Blue. Oh, the sponsors forums. What fun we had. Nobody knew.
Probably a good thing. So now that I got that all out of the way, and the sugar rush is finally hitting me. Wait a minute. Wait. Sugar Rush is that is a song title, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. 60 shit. What the hell was it?
You're showing your age.
66? I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Couldn't tell you.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Don't really matter. Anything can be a song title, even chlamydia.
Frank Zappa. What are you gonna do? I'm reading Roswell. Is there foil in the hat from Trip and Fool? God damn it! I gotta go ahead and look. See? No. That's just. This. Oh shit! That comes out. There's no foil. Hi, I'm back. Okay.
Trippin. What he's wearing is a hat for the Roswell Park Cancer Institute in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Actually, has nothing to do with Roswell, New Mexico.
I have no idea what this piece is supposed to be, come to think of it. I mean, it was on the inside of the hat. I don't think it's supposed to be keeping any shit. It might be a sweatband, come to think of it. Considering that we would have gotten these for the bike ride, wouldn't surprise me. I'll have to check that out. Oh, something new I got to try to figure out. On top of everything else, and what the hell is the difference between a snapback and a dad hat? It's a baseball cap, guys. Get over yourselves.
Yeah, it protects your head from the sun, but if you wear one for too long, you go bald. Ask my brothers.
Bald, it still protects you.
Yes, and
Yes.
if there's one thing that we've learned, it should protect people like Scott Manley. More about him later. Anyway,
Did he have a cricket intro?
No, and I'm not going to because I love my intro. Thank you very much.
That is hilarious.
One of these days, later. We got stuff to do. Let me get everything rolling.
Do your angry diatribe.
I can't even call it angry this time because well, I'll explain it. So at 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. Remember. It's just one word, but it has a lot of meaning behind it. And as a matter of fact, if you say it to the right subculture of people, you will get a really, really interesting reaction. Sometimes a gasp of pain of sorts, because it was a very important line used in, well, yeah, Star Trek 2. Spock is going to go ahead and sacrifice himself for the good of the ship, for everyone that's left on board. He's going to put himself into harm's way and basically irradiate the hell out of himself and basically cook his skin off. Technically, now that I think about it, I don't know if that qualifies as 3rd or 4th degree burns, which, yes, you should really look that up. 4th degree burn. It's not pretty. In any case, he intentionally implanted, if you will, call it what it is, basically a backup template, maybe, of his psyche into Doctor. How this works, of course, it's science fiction magic. Ain't gotta explain shit. But I ended up talking with some folks this week, and one of the things that came up was, things change. That's the nature of things. You leave a place after a while, and you come back after a while, and things have changed. Geographically, things have changed. The regulars have changed. How things are going have changed. People change. Sometimes we lose people. Sometimes we gain people. But it was especially interesting because I had to end up telling somebody that, amongst other people, we lost a friend of ours that Dalan, Joey, and I knew from, a long time back. Our famous, friendly, angry black woman, Jinya. And then they said, we're going to be talking about you in the past tense one of these days too. And yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's kind of a hard thing to have to deal with, to have to internalize. And I've already come to grips with that. I know full well that it is not going to be for me to have to deal with the avalanche of emotion that's going to happen. I won't be here. Forgive the YouTube meme, but I'll be turned off like a light switch, man. And I'm not okay with it finally ending, my time to experience. But I know that it will happen. It happens for us all sooner or later. But I had a couple of moments to kind of smile to myself and realize, you know what? It's okay. No, it's not okay that I'm not going to be here. I mean, shit, everybody wants to continue being at the party, as Christopher Hitchens used to put it. But, I can't be at the party anymore. But I know full well that when the time comes for people to say, hey, whatever happened to? Or do you remember that guy that used to DJ all the time? I know full well that there are going to be people who will remember. A number of people who will remember. And I know that 100 years from now, very likely, nobody is going to remember who I was. but they're going to remember what I've taught. I still have the heart of a teacher, even if I couldn't be one in actuality. I've taught people to be good, to be kind, to be thoughtful, to be resourceful, to be open-minded, to try to be happy. I've tried to show how much love there can be. Capital L, love. I expect to be remembered. And unlike Odo, I have no expectation that entire arias and operas will be written for me. I just want there to be a smile. And maybe, just maybe, one moment where someone finally gets a chance to say, let me tell you about that guy a second. This is episode 183 on the docket, Your Honor. Break on through. Yes, that's a song title. And some of you that remember your stuff from the 60s know full well. It's the Doors. Ironically enough, I never kind of put the idea of breaking through the door together until just now. Wow, that's stupid of me.
Just remember, if you remembered the 60s, you weren't there.
Yeah, I wasn't there. Well, all right. Until the very end, I wasn't there. Whatever. So yeah, I don't remember it. Anyway, so the idea was that originally, my idea was not to talk about trying to break through the wall that people just erect in the middle of a discussion or an argument or whatever you want to call it. Because, you know, sooner or later, there will become a time where you'll be trying to talk with somebody and trying to explain something, and they will just finally say, boom, you know, like get smart. All of a sudden, there 13 walls suddenly drop down in front of you. Nope, 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 la, 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 can't hear you. And, you know, try to shut down the entire discussion and don't want to have it. We've had this happen before. You guys have seen the stuff where I've had this happen before, because I've uploaded screen caps of Facebook discussions where I've had this happen, where people have done this and I've called them out on their bullshittery. Actually, wait a minute. I don't think that's in the Oxford English Dictionary anywhere, but you know what?
I can probably guarantee you that it's not.
There's definitely batshittery.
Well, yeah, there probably is, but in any case. Oh, Stephanie, hi. Nice of you to be up with us. Why? Whatever. Anyway, so
if we can't use bullshittery, how about batshit crazy?
Well, you know what? We use barking ass cold. So yeah, why not? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a group here where some of us have our fingers in the furry fandom. I shouldn't have said it that way.
You really.
But anthropomorphizing things like that, you know, batshittery, bullshittery, batshit crazy, barking ass cold. It kind of goes with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does. So the idea is, you know, we have to deal with people who don't want to listen. And what in the hell do we do at that point in order to try to get our
point by force?
Yeah, well, we'll get around to part of that. That's one of the things. Since Heretic Woman is not here, we'll get there. Since Heretic Woman is not here, unfortunately, I did go looking for stuff about Rafe Badawi. As usual, as I've mentioned, you know, the weeks where we've got no new information is going to be far and away more common, unfortunately. This is one of those weeks. So right now, as of tonight's show, it has now been 5 years, 3 months, 28 days since Rafe Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crimes. Our thoughts and our hopes are still with you and your family. We're really, really hoping that you can get home. Well, at least to a new home. Here, North America, specifically Canada, because, you know, go freaking Canada. See, I'm gonna try really, really hard not to. No, because let's face it. Let's make the Skittles argument really quickly, because wow, Canada went ahead and said, yeah, refugees, sure, bring them in, get them in here, get them somewhere safe.
I really think we should distance ourselves from using Skittles argument as a term. I mean, I've seen way too many of those more recent Skittles commercials, and still traumatized.
Yeah, they are getting kind of bad, aren't they?
Well, you do know what the Skittles argument is at this point, yeah, Joe?
Actually, no.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah.
Basically, the Skittles argument is.
Well, wait a minute. Do you actually have do you have Eli's write-up on it? Just to read it off.
No, I didn't save it. I remember the premise.
Okay.
The premise was that there was a politician who or newscaster who basically said that if you had a bowl of Skittles and several of those were poison, would you continue to eat the Skittles? And the analogy being that you have this influx of immigrants who are fleeing for their lives, okay? But in those thousands, you might have 3 or 4 who are terrorists. Would you still take them in, knowing that if you take in one, you're going to die from it?
Gotcha.
And the answer is, well, hell yeah, eat as many as you can. Start gobbling them up, bring them in.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I actually pulled up the write-up.
So you got the whole quote.
Yes, and Eli Bosnick, and I'll give full credit. Crap, I gotta remember to. I gotta remember.
He's really
to put
good
this
at
up.
writing too.
Yeah, he's had a couple of items that have been really good. He wrote it up this way.
Oh, wait. That's hard.
If I gave you a bowl of Skittles and 3 of them were poison, would you still eat them? Are the other Skittles human lives? What? Like, is there a really good chance, I would be saving someone from a war zone and probably their life if I eat a Skittle? Well, sure, but the point, I would eat the Skittles. Okay, well, the point is, I would gorge myself on Skittles. I would eat every single fucking Skittle I could find. I would stuff myself with Skittles. And when I found the poison Skittle and died, I would make sure to leave behind a legacy of children and of friends who also ate Skittle after Skittle until there were no Skittles to be eaten. And each person who found the poison Skittle, we would weep for. We would weep for their loss, for their sacrifice, and for the fact that they did not let themselves succumb to fear, but made the world a better place by eating Skittles. Because your real question, the one you hid behind a shitty little inaccurate, insensitive, dehumanizing, racist little candy metaphor is my life more important than thousands upon thousands of men, women, and terrified children? And what kind of monster would think the answer to that question is yes? Fucking Bosnick slammed that one so far out of the park, I don't even know where it's in orbit anymore.
Yeah, that thing was like in the thousands of likes and responses and everything.
2 things. 1, I can name a few people who would probably respond with, yes, I'm more important than that.
Yeah.
And 2, as an individual who has eaten a 1-pound bag of Skittles in one sitting in the past, I highly don't recommend that. You will have the worst case of strep throat you have ever seen, because all that citric acid is just going to burn.
I was going to say, after eating that many Skittles, you're practically begging for the poison one to put you out of your misery.
That's pretty much it. That's kind of the way it works. So, I guess let's start off with this one since we're over with this. This piece that he wrote up was brilliant because it absolutely cut completely through the bullshit. Absolutely. It called it out for what exactly it was. It was how did it wait a second, how did he word it?
No, it was racist.
Here we go. Yeah.
Egocentric.
Inaccurate, insensitive, dehumanizing, racist metaphor is what he wrote. And he was absolutely right. It was complete. It was a complete cloud screen.
What is a metaphor anyway?
Don't start.
Too late.
Let's. This is not holy crap. The grammar cast.
No,
that's next week.
Yeah, and really, let's start. Okay, just don't let's start. I'm figuring Tech might have actually gotten that one. Maybe not. That was Bare Naked Ladies, wasn't it? Yeah. Don't let's start. I remember. I'm doing good tonight. Shut up. Anyway, so see, I think one of the first things that when we deal with the people who just want to completely shut down the conversation and just say, "Well, that's just my opinion, man, and you don't have to like it." This is a perfect example of how we can just say, "Look, yeah, you can have your opinion, and your opinion is stupid on so many levels it's not even funny." And call them out for who and what they are.
But at that point where they say, well, it's just my opinion, or if they turn around and say, well, that's your opinion, they go the Lebowski route. Honestly, at that point, I think the conversation is shut down. And even if you say, well, yeah, but your opinion is stupid, that suddenly makes you the petulant one. Again, in my opinion. No, honestly, if they shut down the conversation, I think at that point, it's best to just save your breath. You fought the good fight. You've presented your argument. You've presented your evidence. You've probably called them out on all the bullshit you're possibly going to. But if they are going to continue to be that brick wall, and I speak from experience on this, having dealt with my ex-in-laws, there comes a point where really you're not, the only thing you're doing is wasting your own energy. And it gets to that point where it's not worth it anymore. And even if they turn around and start to try to provoke you again because they actually feed off of the argument, then it's time for you to shut them down.
There's a piece about this also that kind of becomes part of the question. Where is the line to basically say, okay, this is where I've put enough energy and I don't need to put any more energy into it? Because like I said, I've had a number of cases where I went after people and I screen capped that shit. And let me tell you, all the times that I've had to deal with people who have been just like, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to rip you in, and I just go ahead and just sit. I love to be able to just sit back, just crack my knuckles and say, okay, game on, MF. Here we go. Let's go ahead and do this because you're going to look like an idiot. I think that's part of the problem. I'm a vindictive fuck when I get a... Yes, I did it. Okay, fine. Yes, I am. I am a vindictive SOB when somebody goes ahead and says, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and doesn't bother to back it up with squat.
Yeah, but I've seen those screen caps too. And what honestly gets resolved? Other than the fact that maybe you feel better for having tried to shut somebody down. But did you change their mind? Did you make them break a keyboard over their knee? Well, you're probably hoping they did. I don't know if you can ever see that. I guess where I come from at it is, especially when we look at, what we originally signed on for was calling out religion on its bullshit and hopefully trying to make people start thinking a little bit more. But it just eventually it gets to that point where this person is not going to change their mind. So do you continue to write post after post after post after post? For what? Are you going to change this person's mind? Probably not. But, by the 5th page, I'd say it's a pretty good thing that all they're doing right now is basically it's mutual trolling at that point.
Either that or the person is so in defense of that thing that which they hold dear, that that part of themselves that they've invested into their belief that they don't want destroyed, because then they feel like, well, I put in all that investment and they just destroyed it. There's all that investment gone out the window. It's like in certain video games, like for example, Rust or Subsistence or 7 Days to Die or any of those kinds of building games where you either go up against the environment, other players, that sort of stuff. You could spend hours building up a base and somebody comes along and just starts blowing it all to hell. There's a lot of people, when that happens, they get very upset. Now, nothing's technically been created or destroyed, because nothing physical, that is. Nothing that you've dug up out of the dirt with your bare hands and actually built. But you did do something in the digital realm that took real time out of your day and real focus out of your day. And so you put a value to it. What do they call that?
Intrinsic value?
Yeah, and perceived value, that sort of intrinsic value. Something that's not a true dollar sign, just something that you emotionally relate to. And
Just
when
look at it as a personal investment.
Yeah, exactly. So when somebody comes along and goes, hey, you know, that belief that you just put 30 years of your life into, well, we can show you you've just been lied to and you've been believing the lie for 30 years. There are people, the APA, the American Psychologists or Psychiatric Association of America, whichever one it is, they did a study and they showed that when people realized that they've been bamboozled after a certain point in time of consistently being bamboozled, they're not going to admit it anymore because it hurts too much to admit it.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
They'd just rather continue to go along and go, okay, so you say my 30-year-old belief is a lie, and you have empirical evidence. I choose to be willfully ignorant. Nope.
Right. So at that point, when you've interpreted the responses to say that I choose to remain willfully ignorant, maybe it's me, maybe it's the fact that I just have extremely little patience for people like that. It's like, okay, you know what? You've decided to continue down the road of abject stupidity that you've been going at for the past 30 years. Okay, next case.
See, now here's the thing. If you haven't reached that point, if they're still throwing out arguments that they've heard from, say, apologetics or from a paper that was published and maybe it hadn't been researched and whatever, there is nothing wrong, especially if this is being publicly visible, of still going in and doing your research and doing a counter argument, because people are reading, and you may find a lot of people may end up reaching out to a lot of people who are currently on the fence and help them out. Obviously, this person's really reaching. They don't want to be helped out. They want to be in their happy, safe mental area.
Yeah.
But you might hit some others. But once that person goes, listen, I don't care what you say. You're not changing my belief. Anything you do after that's not really going to help the people on the fence. Except for maybe one thing. Well, if you ever have any questions about what we discussed, don't be afraid to reach out to me and we'll talk about them some more. Because at that point, you haven't really closed the door on their face and you gave them a way to, readdress the subject without making them look like an asshole.
But I think too, and I've been kind of muddling this one around in my head for a while, and actually I actually have to give credit to the Ranting Griffin on this one and his recent adventures, where, well, no, he finally came out as an alcoholic. And this is shit we've known, we in the fandom anyway, we've known this for years. He's even said it on stage a couple of times that he drank too much. Anybody who was a good friend of his knew that he was that. But he had to discover it for himself. He had to make the choice to say that this is bad for me. And I do honestly think that things like religion, it's an addiction, a very deep, entrenched addiction in people. Like, yeah, okay, it's indoctrination. And, firebrands like Silverman or, other people that, yell and scream till they're blue in the face about how, fucked up God is and everything like that. Okay, it'll shake a person. But of course, the initial resistance comes up to it, like, how dare you say something like that about my addiction, or I'm not brainwashed. I'm a faithful believer.
This is only the third beer. I'm not a bad person for having too much alcohol.
Okay. If you're saying that after your third beer, you really shouldn't be drinking, period. I'm just saying.
Well, wait a minute. It also depends on the beer. I mean, there's beer and then there's beer.
Very good point.
Okay, so the quantity should have been changed.
Yeah,
I see where you're coming from, Tech, but no, what I'm saying is,
I see it more of as a virus.
Well, in either case, be it a virus, be it an addiction, the thing is, it is up to the individual to make the choice to say, you know what, I'm done with this. Like,
yeah, seek help.
We are not going to pull people out of the church at gunpoint, and we are not going to force them out of their religion through coercion or through threats or anything like that.
Yeah, that's something religion does well.
Well, yeah, it's
coercion
something religion
and threats.
Yeah,
we
it's
can't use
that's
the
something,
same tactics.
Yeah, they do it well because they have, of course, they also have centuries of community on their sides. You know, look at the Mormons, look at the JWs, look at any tightly knit, you know, small hick town with, you know, that's got, you know, 2,000 people and 25 churches, all of them different flavors of Baptist or something. If you're not attending one of those 25 churches, you're that one that walks down the street that everybody crosses the street to get away from because you're the strange one. And how many people in a town like that would want to be the strange one?
Not many. I will admit that.
Yeah.
There's I've had to deal with, a couple of years ago, I had to deal with somebody who way big time bad talked to me. I mean, hugely bad talked to me. And I mean, I've talked about it once before on the show, long time ago at this point. And he was an asshole in high school when I knew him, and he's never grown up. He's still an asshole, but you know, claims to be Christian left, right, and center. And well, you know, all those tattoos got to be nice job there, dude. Anyway, yeah, there's a whole thing with that, but that's another thing. But there, as far as to a part of what you're talking about, I want to use a metaphor of sorts. Joe, I need your help on this one.
Yes, sir.
Is a hand grenade, a fragmentary hand grenade, useful for specifically targeting an individual?
Allow me to quote something toward you from the infantry handbook.
You actually know this by rote?
Oh, God.
Yes.
This ought to be good.
Every bullet has a name on it. Grenades are addressed to whom it may concern.
I like that. Of course, if you have just one person standing out in the middle of a field with nobody around, and you toss that person the lovely explosive bundle of joy, you kind of are targeting the one person with it.
Yes.
Let me put it into a hypothetical situation for you. Mm-hmm. Say you have a hostage situation. One does not deal with this with a fragmentary hand grenade.
Depends on whether or not you like the hostage.
You know, I was about to say that, but I thought, no. Even if the hostage is an asshole, like even if the hostage was,
yeah,
okay, honestly, okay,
don't name names. Don't name names. You don't want us to get into trouble by naming names.
Can I
mean, if I was really going to be that much of a dick, I just wouldn't even bother throwing it at him. I would just walk away at that point.
Yeah.
But point taken, Joey.
Yeah. So here's my point. In the digital realm, if you're dealing with a relatively open forum where many people can see, you've got all those eyeballs. Those are a whole bunch of people around in a clumped area, a room, if you will. Now, if you drop the text equivalent of several grenades into a room, and somebody has intentionally locked themselves behind a couple of brick walls specifically, who's going to get hit by all those pieces of literary shrapnel? So
that's a fair point.
That's my point. And
especially
that's why,
the potency of the shrapnel.
Yeah. And as somebody who's going to go ahead and toot his own horn on this one, and yes, I can get away with doing that on video on YouTube because they can't stop me.
And he's not wearing pants.
Yet.
Shut up. You don't know that. Anyway, the point is, I would like to think, and I'm saying this because I am somewhat vain. I will freely admit it. I am quite vain on occasion. I would like to think that every time that I've dealt with a long enough thread and I've screen capped it and posted it to the Facebook feed, I would really like to think that I knew what the hell I was doing and I really went ahead and dropped the stuff out there for as many people to be hit with as possible. And I was right. Does that mean that I was always doing the right thing? Is a different matter. Because, well, there is the small moral part of, well, would I want somebody to go ahead and keep talking to me when they believe that they are right too? Problem sometimes.
Well,
Not.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it goes, is that, you know, I have a couple of friends on Facebook, and sometimes they post things that it just beggars belief. The things they post, like, it's usually a meme or it's usually something else, where I kind of look at it and go, you're not really getting, you're not doing it right. But I don't, more often than not, I don't engage. Largely because because a lot of these memes, and I also know the personality of the person that's doing it, and they're basically one of those all or nothing type people that we see a lot more of these days, where if you don't agree with them 150% on everything that they say, if you disagree even just a little bit, suddenly you are every derogatory name in the book, even though it's not true.
You ain't with us, you against us.
Pretty much. And this is not just on the red side, if you will.
Oh no, I know.
To borrow a quote from 45, it's all sides. Both sides of the spectrum are as guilty as sin of that. There is no, there ain't no clean hands in this one.
Yeah, there's and you know, this is one of those times where I have to say, it's not a matter of all sides. It's about all points on the spectrum. It's no longer black versus white versus gray. It's now about what the hell was that stuff that they came up with that was supposed to be the blackest thing so far that they've manufactured?
Dark matter?
No, that reflects like 0.007% of whatever light or whatever the hell it is.
Donald Trump's soul?
I can't disagree with that one. Vanta Black. Okay, sure. Yeah, whatever the hell it is. But there's so many times now where it's either completely impenetrably black or completely
Vanta Black. Here.
Oh. Vanta Black. All right. I'll put that in the show.
Sometimes I do know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it's so hit or miss. I don't even know when the hell I should be listening to you. You're like George Gobel for the 5 square win-win. That's who you are in the script. You know that, right?
It's a substance made of vertically aligned carbon nanotube arrays that is one of the blackest artificial substance known, absorbing up to 99.965% of radiation in the visual spectrum.
And the shit is expensive. You got to be rich to get just a patch of this stuff.
So,
can you imagine somebody walking around in a suit or a dress made out of that?
Give it 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, when the price comes down.
So the place I'm going with this at this point is, you know, there's, as much as I don't want to admit it, yeah, there is a lot of crap that's been going on both sides. There is so much. You know what? I'm gonna. I don't know if anybody's using it, but I'm gonna coin a term. I don't care whether or not it's been utilized.
I'm gonna coin a term.
I haven't heard anybody else use it, but it's hyperpolarization. You are either in my section or you are everything that's wrong with the universe today. And you can be part of my group, but if you stray a hair's breadth away, all of a sudden you were never part of my group and you are again part of everything that's wrong with the friggin' universe suddenly.
Thank you.
Don't do that.
I had to do that one. I had to do that one.
I hate it. I hate it when you do that. You know that.
Oh boy.
You know, he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Shujin, I will respectfully disagree and say that I do care. Because if I didn't care, I would be saying that one word that I said a couple of Fridays ago.
Don't.
It would make me the envy of every single YouTuber out there. But I will not do it.
Joey.
Because I care.
Joey.
What?
I will mute your ass. Don't you dare. I've got my finger on the button. I will mute your ass. Don't you dare.
I was hemming him.
Oh. Okay. Sorry.
I didn't say
I take it back.
No, so much angst going on right now.
Oh no. This has nothing.
A hem and just for good measure, harumph.
Yeah, thank you, Count Money.
It's a harumph.
Yeah. Now see,
I didn't get a harumph from you.
You're not going to until I get a handlebar mustache, and that ain't happening anytime soon. Now see, we can get away with doing this because we're friends with each other. We're friendly with each other. And we've also been doing this long enough to know full well we don't agree on everything. Most of the stuff, the important stuff, we agree with. And the stuff that we don't necessarily agree with, well, we can just move to Canada and then everything will be fine again. Right? We can
Great example. I personally think everything looks better on fire.
Now, I can't say anything about that because TT and I had a very similar discussion earlier today. And I had to agree, yes, fire is a very useful tool. And that's why I keep reminding him every time there is a change in the place of, you know, if I'm going to be with him or not. And I remind him, what's the one rule? Don't set the place on fire. Right.
To paraphrase a great performer.
Rule number 0.
It's a different thing. Go, Joe.
To paraphrase a great performer by the name of Matt Davis, better known to some as To the Ranting Griffin, flamethrowers are not weapons. They're designed for winning arguments.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Just remember, we think you should come out of that cave. We think we better not. Whoosh, we're coming out.
Yeah.
Just remember, flamethrowers were invented because at some point somebody said, you know, that person over there, I really want to set them on fire, but they're too far away.
And I'm just too damn lazy to walk over there and do it my own damn self with this long metal skewer thing.
You know, if I ever end up playing a video game where I can write something on the side of a weapon, I think I know what I'm going to put on my flamethrower based on what you just said there, Joey.
Oh.
On the side of my flamethrower, well, you said it's good for winning arguments.
That's all it's good for.
Yeah. So I think on the side of a flamethrower should be written the words, I respectfully disagree.
You don't even have to set the guy you're arguing it with on fire.
Nope, just
I'm not
everything.
finishing that joke because it gets a tad.
You know, honestly, I just want to carry around a flamethrower and go to like Christian gatherings. When they start saying they're on fire for Jesus, it's like, no, but I can help with that. Whoosh.
The staff and management of Holy Crap the Vlogcast do not in any way condone such an act. You're welcome.
You're right.
Oh.
Napalm would be better.
Actually, no, I just had a thought. You know that infamous picture of the weekend warrior there. He's got the AR-15 strapped to his back at a Target or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The one where I've constantly said if a guy walked in with a loaded pistol aiming to rob the place, that guy would actually be the first to shit himself rather than actually pull out the gun and start using it.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, walk up to that guy, but instead of carrying an AR-15, carry a flamethrower. Walk into that Target looking for, I don't know, lighter fluid, a match, charcoal.
Well, excuse me, sir. I'm having trouble getting this thing started. Do you have a light?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I just wonder, would that guy, would he go for it? Would he start reaching for the stock of that weapon to say, you know, well, I don't think I like your type here.
Well, it can't hurt any worse than the fellow who went, this is a stick up. Does anybody have a gun I can borrow?
Yep. Pardon me. Where's your Zippo display? That's yeah. Some people have a really good laugh at that one.
Yeah, Joey, I got to go looking for that story now because that sounds like absolute perfect Florida man material.
Not an actual story. At least I hope not. Otherwise, wow.
Yeah, I am going to go look for Florida man news for next week and see if I can find something.
You know, I just thought of something. This is kind of really interesting now because now that we're talking about flamethrowers, and believe it or not, this actually does kind of come together. Mm-hmm. The analogy that I was talking about before of everybody getting into a room, typically, I mean, picture it as a large room, but it is a room where everybody's together for a public post. Let's call it Bookface, for instance. Just pulling a name randomly out of the air. My ass. And you try to go ahead and you drop information to try to explain to people this guy behind the wall who doesn't want to listen to me is wrong, and you now all have been hit. There becomes a reverse flamethrower effect sometimes where more people will intentionally pull themselves in to direct at you. As opposed to you directing the flame out to many will try to put their flame towards you.
Yeah, it's called dogpiling.
Yeah, or white knighting, which if you don't know what, okay, dogpile on the rabbit, the rabbit, fine, okay. But
is Toonie watching?
What?
Is Toonie watching?
I have no idea.
Run away.
I don't know, but the point being that I love, believe it or not, seriously, I love when that happens. Really, seriously, I really do, because you know what ends up happening in those situations? Do you know? I'll tell you, people end up using the same goddamned arguments every freaking time. They keep using rat. Refuted 1,000 times. The stuff that we can just go ahead and say, oh, well, yeah, hang on a second. Or Heretic Woman actually can do it. Oh, yeah, that's tab number 43 that I've got open right now. Here's the link to the information that you just conveniently walked right into because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Now, me, I'm a little more genteel about it most of the time until somebody becomes an absolute dick. And then my dickishness is snobbery, I think is probably the nicest way of wording it. But I don't go out there and try to pick a fight and be an absolute asshole. I will do my business to say, look, I think that you're wrong, and I've got this that backs me up. Now, I don't know about you guys, but those are the moments where more and more people come in and more people get hit with, you know, the extra pieces and read over. And I think the idea of reminding ourselves that there are far and away more eyes watching than fingers typing is really important, because those are the ones that will passively take it in and maybe not do anything with it. And it'll ruminate. It'll ping around in the head for a while. and eventually we'll kind of make a connection somewhere. I don't expect that I'm going to be changing everybody's minds on everything. Hell, that would be a horrible, horrible Earth. No, yeah, it would be. It would be. But I would like to hope that there are those couple who are going to be out there that are going to, you know, have that question mark in their head, and maybe, just maybe, we'll actually have something to think about it afterwards, and, you know, maybe try to do more investigation, and, you know, it'll take hold somewhere. Kind of like a fungus.
Well,
no, yeah, that's right. That's kind of right.
I've always looked at it that if you can create a crack in that armor and get at least one drop of water inside the crack, because then over time, you know, if it expands as ice, the crack widens, or it rusts, it begins to fester. Like, if you can pound somebody verbally, and if you can worm just that one crack of doubt, you know, yeah, it may not. Again, we're quoting Mr. Davis here quite a bit tonight. It may not happen in our lifetime, or like we may never see it, but maybe that person will stop taking the false claims and everything so seriously.
That could be.
But unfortunately, now a lot these days, like you said, it's either becoming, you know, Vanta black, or, you know,
piercing
white, or piercing white. It's like you said, hyperpolarization. I like that word. You got to hang on to that one.
I love. You know, let's see about putting that out there in the show notes so that we can document it for later. God damn it!
I like words too. Shujin knows my new favorite word. He just can't say it.
I can say it on the show.
Did I miss something?
I was teasing him last night with Brobdingnagian.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I think I was a little tuned out with that one because it had been a long day at work. But yeah, to my point, like these days, like I've always been of the belief that, you know, when it comes to again, we're getting into the political side of it, which I don't like to get into because, well, it's not exactly what the show was supposed to be about. But you've got your left and your right. And these days you're either, these days you're either left or you're everything that's wrong in the universe. You know, I've always been a bit of a centrist. I think there are good points on both sides of the fence that if they were combined, you have that little bit of column A, that little bit of column B, actually could create a very comfortable and functional society that does take care of those that need taken care of, that promotes excellence of effort and rewards excellence of effort, that provides opportunity for all, regardless of anything. Like, I think there is that potential out there for everybody. But these days, if you're considered like anything even close to centrist, or, you know, like just leaning a little bit, you're immediately shut down because of the hyperpolarization that's going on these days.
If I may. Perhaps the one thing that the one premise that scares me the most is the idea of a world where everybody thinks exactly the same way.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that one.
Because
100%.
if they did, nice work there. If they did, we'd all still be pretty much walking around barefoot in the savannas, throwing poop at each other. If everybody thought exactly the same way, the wheel would never have caught on. The idea of the airfoil would never have caught on. The idea of cell phones capable of complex calculations and multiple applications never would have caught on. If everybody thought and believed exactly the same thing everywhere, it would be the absolute stagnation of our species.
Right. And I am all for a marketplace of ideas. You know, and that if someone comes up with a tremendously stupid idea, I'm all for them still having the right to say it, because then I still have the right to laugh in their face and call them the idiot that they are. I'm all for that. You know, because again, if you don't have, like you said, if everyone thought the same, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I want it to be where people can still express that idea, still have thoughts like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if, you know, you look at, well, you look at the world's biggest dreamer right now, Elon Musk. You know, okay, he's got his idea for the Hyperloop, which it's not doing so well, even if Richard Branson has now signed on to it. He wants to call the Moonbase Alpha. You know, and Shujin, you and I have gone on this one already.
Yeah.
On Facebook. I basically posted, hey, you know what, Mr. Musk, that sounds wonderful. I would love to have a Moonbase Alpha. But shouldn't you build it first before you get the champagne ready? You know,
yeah, I want
to. And Shujin, you told me that, well, you know, he can still dream about it.
Yeah, to kind of go on that, because I also want to backtrack on something a little bit. It's okay to dream. And of course, there's nothing wrong with saying, I would like it to be called. Or even better, I would like the project to be called. Nothing wrong with that. And when it is built, I will name it. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Because there is a cultural identity. And I think I have an idea as to why he did that. Not just because he liked the TV show back in the day, which, okay.
Hey. Eagles are cool, okay?
That they are. Don't get me wrong. They are. And for those of you that have played Kerbal Space Program, those are great. Anyway, but culturally, we know about this show. Nothing stirs the imagination and the want to achieve so much as science fiction. Why can't we do blah? Why can't we have warp drive travel? Well, you know, it's impossible to go faster than the speed of... Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not impossible to go faster than the speed of light. It's impossible to go the speed of light. No, wait a minute. There's nothing that says we can't go faster. We just can't go at the speed. Wait a minute. What do we need to do in order to get to that point? That's when the progress starts to happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that. Now, as far as to dealing with a stupid idea, let me run this one past you a second. And Aubrey, I do see that Stephanie and Aubrey are having a discussion over in the chat. I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Joey, let me pitch this one past you for a second and
Okay.
see what you think about this. Would it be a good idea or a bad idea to defrost an ice cube tray on the stove directly?
With the stove on?
Yes. To use the heat from the stovetop to defrost ice cubes to get them out of an ice cube tray.
That would be an incredibly bad idea, especially depending on what kind of heat source you're using.
Okay, let's
don't blow up the kitchen.
That's actually a very good idea. Okay, now how about we go with this? Okay, some people are not going to believe that such a thing exists, but they do. A metal ice cube tray.
Mm-hmm.
Also, all right. Let's go with an inductive heating surface where you can control how long it operates.
Okay.
Would this then still be a completely stupid idea?
Depending on how you used it, not necessarily.
Okay. So it all comes down to the situation. See, it's not so cut and dry. It's not so black and white. Now, if you were using a gas top and a silicone rubber, I'm pretty sure that we would agree that would be a really, really bad idea.
I have a more colorful analogy, if you will.
Yeah.
If you take a whole lot of, I don't know, hydrogen and ball it all up and put something that you want to put into space on it, on top, and then just, flick a match, toss it into that big ball of hydrogen, you're not going to get anywhere, but you're going to make one hell of a firework. But if you stuff all that hydrogen, say, into a long tubular, let's call it a rocket, and control the rate at which the hydrogen is burning, well, then you get yourself, New Horizons, the size of an SUV, going toward Pluto.
Elite
And that's a different thing. And going like a bat out of hell, let me tell you.
Still going.
Still go. It's going to be going for a long time to go. By the way, NASA, nice job, guys.
Not Brogdingen, the what?
You didn't see that, did you?
God, it's the first time I've seen that.
You've never seen that word before.
I am entirely too sober to even try.
Now you know how I feel on Friday night. And I was completely stone cold sober.
Brogdingen.
What's going on? Yeah, what's going on, by the way, over in the chat was a little bit of a combination of what Aubrey had said. I thought phones would just continue to get smaller and smaller, thinking that they would be basically not any much more powerful, for lack of a better term for a second, than what Blackberries were. And fair enough. And I'm sure there were a number of people who thought that. I mean, hell, hold on. I thought that my flip phone, my LG flip phone, which I thought was great, it was great for the time, for the application. It was a tool that worked and did a thing.
It allowed you to communicate with other tools.
With other people. Yeah, I had to call work a couple of times. So yeah, technically. But now, what we call phones today are mini computers. Exactly right.
That can make phone calls.
Right.
Yeah. Now, almost the concept of getting or of making or receiving a phone call is now a minor option to these things.
Comparatively so, yeah, exactly right. Now
look at the original cell phone, shall we say? Yeah,
cellular telephone.
Yes,
that big box.
Bag phones.
Yes, I can understand if it was just for making calls. Hell, we could probably make cell phones nowadays the size of a credit card.
They do,
but it's because we're adding more and more functions to it that they still, I mean, I won't say they're getting a lot bigger. I mean, compared to my Nokia, I could say that a iPhone is fairly large, but my Nokia can't tell me where the best places are for, lunch in walking distance, or help me look up the meaning of the word Brobdingnagian.
Yeah, and by the way, just to make sure that people are totally on board on this whole thing, this is my naked S5, Galaxy S5. See that big black and silver piece that's taking up a big section right there? That's the battery. All of the brilliance that's in here that dwarfs many of the computers that I've owned is all fit inside of this little piece of ceramic and plastic and glass and silicon rubber and now we would not have expected this to have happened. The point where I'm going with this whole damn thing is that things change, ideas change, concepts end up changing. This is not, by any stretch of the imagination, what we would have called a phone 30 years ago. 50 years ago, this was, well, was this toy. It was a concept. And a little bit before that, it was, well, the bat phone in the Batmobile, that big red thing. I don't ever want to have that. But anyway.
You know, a few years ago, I was looking at, I went to a car dealership. I was looking at used vehicles. And there was one, the guy had basically driven it onto the lot and had made the deal with the dealership and was done with it. And it was in my price range, you know, for the monthly payment and everything. I looked in, sat down inside of it. There was the bat phone in the car.
No.
In between okay, on the floor, between the driver and the passenger seat, like there wasn't that, the console, you know, the kind of dividing consoles we have these days, that wasn't there. So on that floor, but like there was a bit of a hump, you know, where the transmission is underneath. Mm-hmm. On that was a BC Tel, so that's how old this was, in-car phone. Like it had been hardwired into the system. They had the big-ass cell antenna on the back, and It was literally a handset you picked up and talked on the phone while driving, a la Batman.
Okay, and that's not quite the same thing I thought, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like one of the original car phones. You know, like before they came up with hands-free and all that stuff. And I honestly would have bought the car, except every ashtray on that car. I'm talking the one in the center, the two on either side of on the doors, because that they still had the little ashtrays on the door handles. Yeah, completely filled with cigarette butts. And I looked at the guy who was trying to sell me the car. I said, "You're cleaning this thing out, right?" He goes, "No." He says, "You buy it, you drive it off." I'm like, yeah, you're not going to be working here much longer. And I didn't say that, to go all, Mr. Justice on this guy or anything like that. But I did mention it to a person who worked at that particular car dealership, who just happens to be my sister-in-law. She knew exactly who I was talking about without even mentioning the name. Yeah.
Amazing how that works.
He got us 2 weeks after that.
So yeah, what are you looking at?
You were talking about this, how small your current phone is. And it's like, well, they actually make them as small as that little one that you showed us, with all the power of the big one. The size really is dictated by two things: the screen and the size of the battery you want to put in it. At this point, we can make phones that are smaller than 3 inches on the longest edge, as pictured in this picture here. The guy's holding it up with just 2 fingers. Then there's this one over here that's shorter and smaller than a Bic lighter, disposable lighter. So we can make them tiny. We can make them tinier than we've ever made them before. We have that set up.
We have the technology.
Holy crap, you guys got to see this.
Oh dear.
Midgets? Hell yeah, midgets.
No, in the chat. In the chat, Stephanie had said, what is it here? Look up the BlackBerry Key 1.
Yes.
So I did.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, check this out. 4.5-inch touchscreen, 26-hour battery life, 12-megapixel autofocus large pixel camera. Okay, fine, but again, it's...
Yep. Get to the next part.
Yeah. Supports up to a 2 terabyte micro SD card.
Yeah, boy.
I didn't even know they made those.
Yes.
Good luck affording it.
Exactly.
The phone or the card?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. You'll forgive me a second. I'm trying to find a detail in particular as far as to when this particular thing was built. Well, damn it, I can't find the trouble is why am I picking up the German Wikipedia page? It's dumb. Why the hell are you doing this to me?
I mean, the real thing is that I would be okay with just a micro SD card that's 256. I don't need 2 terabytes, but it's nice that the phone I would be looking at would support it. Because right now, SanDisk makes an Ultra model, which is 400 gigs, and back in August it cost $250. If that thing were to go on sale for like $50 off, or 75 or 100 or something like that, yeah, that would actually be something I wouldn't mind adding to my collection.
I got a 128 in my phone and in my tablet, and actually for what I need, it's more than enough.
Well, right now 256 would be more than enough for me. Unfortunately, I have a model phone that doesn't allow for expansion, so I'm stuck with the limited memory that I have inside of it.
Yeah. I
mean, heck, the Nintendo Switch supports up to 2 terabytes on a micro SDXC card.
Yeah, but
So,
eventually
we'll get there.
Well, I was going to say too, if the Switch really takes off, I mean, yes, it has taken off, but if they can actually get it to have staying power, you're going to want that internal storage for like over-the-air game downloads at some point, where instead of buying cartridges or whatever for it, you'll just hook onto the Nintendo Store and download it directly to your system. So having a 2 terabyte hard drive for something like that, I can get behind that.
Yeah. All right. Now, kind of backtracking just a little bit for a second. Remember how I was talking about, conceptually, things will end up going through a whole bunch of things. What I have is my old ham radio. Back when I was still living on Long Island, I bought this for myself because, well, I wanted a ham radio. I do have a license. Yes, I'm a licensed ham radio operator. Amateur
you
radio.
Be holding that otherwise.
No, actually, you can own pretty much any radio, pretty much, that you would want over here. You just can't transmit with it unless you're actually authorized to. Now, there are some bands that I can pick up on this that normally you're really not supposed to, and there's some where it'll pick it up because, well, you can. For instance, Aircraft AM VHF band. I can pick up aircraft on this. But anyway, it has a feature whereby you can transmit on one frequency and receive on another. That's entirely what a phone does. An old cell phone was just a two-way radio that was transmitting and receiving at the same time. This overly sized piece comparatively, and yes, this actually is a real antenna. This main piece,
I took just a tip off.
1997, I believe, is when it came out. Built in Japan, is a good unit. It's done well for me through all this time. And does this have any kind of special digi type stuff to it? No, it does what a radio is supposed to do. It scans, it transmits, it listens. Technically, if I really wanted to, I could probably talk to the International Space Station, but yeah, I'd be woefully underpowered to be able to do it, but it's still doable.
You need a bigger antenna array.
I would need a lot more power.
You'd also need to be in the right position for that little thing.
Yes, but be that as it may.
Yeah.
But the point of it is, this is the essence of what an over-the-air phone is. And technically, that's really what used to be. Now, they're no longer using analog AM FM transmissions. Now they're using FM carrier waves for digital information and sending a stream of data most of the time. My flip phone that I was talking about a little while ago, that's an analog signal. They are not liking those anymore, so they don't use those anymore. You can probably still use them, but be that as it may. The point is...
I know what you mean about that, because my real life job, part of what we do supply people with cellular technology. And just recently, actually it was up here in Canada, one of our clients, they were told by their provider that this particular type of modem that uses this particular type of protocol at the end of last year would no longer be supported. So now they're on the hook, or they were on the hook to replace something like 500 modems that we had to do because we were the supplier. So we had to purchase them. We had to help get them provisioned. Then we had to figure out a way to replace them, like to actually go out, open up these small computers to integrate the new modem into it. These machines typically aren't meant to come apart all easy peasy like that. Let's just say it was a bad time.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I was pulling that all out and showing everybody is, like I was saying before, concepts change. And that's, I think, where the biggest piece that this whole thing needs to go. We need to find ways of getting through to people to challenge what their preconceptions are, to challenge where their concepts are, to give them a little nugget that's going to say, hey, maybe your concept isn't right anymore. Again, you can usually do this in a non-confrontational way because confrontation breeds walls. And if there's one thing we know over here in the United States these days, it's about freaking walls, man.
Yeah. But yeah, there are actually, to that end, there are three examples I could use of where it sounds like a good idea, but the laws of physics and chemistry and thermodynamics are not on your side.
Yeah,
generally speaking.
White chocolate and sauerkraut, you know?
No. So what I'm talking about, well, one is the Hyperloop. Now, it sounds like a good idea. Like conceptually, I think it's awesome. You know, a bullet that goes Mach 1 in a vacuum tube from one side of the U.S. to the other. A lot of people have sort of poo-pooed on it. And I would say that, yeah, today ain't going to happen. 10 to 20 years from now, or even sooner. Because, again, now that Richard Branson from Virgin is now in on it, he could pump the money into the research to get the materials and other things necessary. But, I mean, right now, let's just say, I don't think we're all going to see it until after we've long retired from our careers. The next concept, solar freaking roadways.
Yeah, we've kind of gone through that one a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about there.
Yeah, I know.
And my third one is the self-filling water bottle.
Yeah.
And that one has actually, I've looked a little bit more into that one. And this is the one where, when I said the thermodynamics, this is the one where, excuse me, the laws of thermodynamics are completely against. Like, these guys, they have a great idea for a concept. But the laws of the universe are telling them this shit ain't gonna happen unless you. What's that?
I was going to quote Homer on this one. In this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
Yeah, but again, it's a neat idea. You know, a bottle that basically a still suit in a bottle, something that could pull the moisture from the air, condense it down into drinkable water, with nothing more than a solar panel to power it.
We already have that as a giant billboard in countries where it's hard to get fresh water.
Yeah, but what they're talking about is something, you know, the size of this.
Yes, I understand that. And we already have flexible solar panels that would actually fit around that.
Yes, but unless they're the surface area to get the power required, it's not there. And furthermore, if you go into places where it's very low humidity, you know, it's very dry, like even around where I live right now, that bottle is never going to fill.
Yeah,
but you know, it's stuff like that. You know, again, it's great to have those ideas, but sometimes you gotta kind of introduce a little bit of reality to these people.
Yeah, by the way, just because I just thought about it. Okay, before I go ahead and drop this one on you guys for a second, are we all at least passingly familiar with Space 1999?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think I still have them on my hard drive somewhere.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Tech, you grew up pretty much the same time and area as I did, so I'm assuming that you remember having watched it on Channel 9, I think it was at the time, back in the day.
I was up in...
You're in Brooklyn.
No, I was not in Brooklyn.
Were you?
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
You were in Brooklyn.
Well,
I was up near Vestal.
Oh, were you? All right. Well, you know what?
Yeah,
whatever.
I was
Anyway.
Tioga County.
Okay. Anyway, for those that remember it, though, you would remember that in order to get from one place in the sections, the different areas of Moonbase Alpha, which was a sizable base, they took these travel tubes. I don't remember exactly what they called them.
Oh, I remember those.
But they went from one place to another, and they kind of zipped along. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe the Hyperloop was the first stage in that whole Space 1999-esque kind of way, because in a vacuum, that would kind of work pretty nicely on magnetic railways and such. Just
well, don't forget, science fiction for years. I mean, going back to the 50s and earlier, before it was even had a classification, talked about alternate means of transportation of all different spectrums, whether it was things that seemed to be magical like teleportation, to something as simple as a moving sidewalk. Thank you, Caves of Steel. Anyway, so the concept of traveling through a vacuum at very high speeds due to a lack of wind resistance, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if there was something that went back like more, you know, close to 50 to 100, well, 50 or more years. Well, in this case, it'd be 70. Sorry, we're getting older. Dating back to at some point in one of those. I mean, hell, look at how robots have evolved through human ingenuity. Okay, and look at how some of them still look compared to some of the old stories about robots that, you know, predate all this stuff.
Yep. And Dalan is making a good point over in the chat too. Thunderfoot took the piss out of a couple of these, and
yeah,
Captain. I'm terribly sorry. Captain Disillusioned also went ahead and did a thing, and some.
The Hyperloop's not a bad idea, though.
No. We were talking about the self-filling water bottle. Now, to the Hyperloop, yes, he's done a lot on it right now, and he's shown, you know, what happens with
right,
a
and he's
tank.
doing a proof of concept prototype build right now, so that we can actually people respond better to an idea when they can see the idea.
Well, that's just it.
It function.
Yeah, and with the Hyperloop, it's getting there. Like test tracks have been built. The competition was kind of off to a flying crash, I'm going to say. But now I've heard that there is now a vehicle that can hit up to 200 miles per hour inside of the tunnel.
Testing the concept of the tunnel having a leak and having the system actually slow down instead of crash. Like,
but no, the one that, and I know Tifo's taking the piss out of a lot with the Hyperloop, but the one I was actually focusing on was the self-filling water bottle, because that was a Kickstarter that made over it made over $1 million without a concept. Like basically what these guys wanted to do was to take the concept of a Peltier effect, I think it's what it's called, Peltier effect dehumidifier, and turn it into something like this. And he's actually seen pictures of their latest prototype that they've been working on. And instead of it becoming more and more like what they were conceptualizing, it's actually getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where, if you want it, you're going to have to drive in the rainforest, and it's going to have to be towed behind your bicycle with a heavy grade trailer at this point.
Yeah, he's got it. No. As a matter of fact, if I remember right, basically what he said was, this is no longer a cute little. Well, I'm highly paraphrasing. This is no longer a cute little science experiment. This is now something that's readily available on the shelves of pretty much any hardware store, called a dehumidifier.
Mm-hmm.
What they're trying to make is a better dehumidifier, and it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah,
it might not happen in the next 10 years, but it might happen in 20 or 30. We continue to miniaturize. Well, first off, look at it. We continue to miniaturize our electronics.
Yeah.
Despite how many times we go, okay, we can't do this anymore, somebody figures it out. And that's because we don't live long lifespans, okay? This is because we have a short lifespan, so new ideas are constantly coming in from the younger generation. That when they get old enough that they're set in their ways and their mindset, they're not around for so long that they squash, 3 or 4 generations worth of ideas. Okay, there's still going to be those ones going, well, that old fart said I can't do it, but I'm going to give it a shot, rather than that old fart that's 5 centuries old knows exactly what they're talking about because they've been around for 5 centuries and have tried everything that we could think of, and we have no ideas, or we don't have, we shouldn't try alternate approaches because what's the point? I'm
saying screw the self-filling water bottle and come up with a technology that'll have me live 5 centuries that I can actually go back and go, I told you so.
Yeah. Well, see, part of the problem with this is that the takedowns have been based off of the science as understood, and showing that these guys that have raised $1 million+ on, hey, this is what it's going to look like, and this is what it's going to do, and this is what it's going to look like when it does what it does that we say it's going to do, but we don't have an actual device yet.
What people have to remember about Kickstarter is that there is no promise of delivery of a product. There's only the promise that if enough people promise enough money to have the project funded, the money will go to the people asking for the money.
Yeah.
Okay. That those groups then make the promises and things like, okay, well, if you give us X amount of dollars, we'll make sure you get one of the first runoffs. Like the Revoke, which is a combination fidget spinner and fidget cube. Okay. Little things like that. Then you have other ones where I've seen where they were asking for money to take action to archive data, and before the Trump administration could delete it. I wasn't going to get anything in return for that, but I knew what what they were doing, and I knew the reason why they were doing it, and I fully supported that. So I helped kickstart that. I don't always kickstart something because I'm hoping to get something out of it personally for me. I'm hoping in some way, shape, or form it'll benefit mankind. So if these guys weren't promising that you were going to get a bottle, they were just showing, this is what we want it to look like, this is how we envision it and everything else, give us $1 million so that we can get to work on it and make it, fine, that's one thing. If they're saying, this is exactly what it's going to look like and you're going to get one, yeah, there might be some problems there.
But I think the biggest problem that we end up with this is people will just go ahead and say, this is what we're going to do. And then people who actually deal with the hard science about it come out and say, yeah, you can't do that. Because, well, here's all the science that's been done in the past that shows that you can't do that. Because it doesn't work that way. Because the physical science...
The science shows is that you could make a water bottle that attracts the moisture in the air to itself. How fast it's going to function, how much moisture it can attract in a given time frame, so to speak, in terms of fast. The actual size of it is going to be limited on the current technology. The draw power, which will dictate the size of the panels required, all those things, those are going to change over time. So what they envision...
Hold it. Because we've got a real problem child right here with one item in particular that I know full well. The amount of water that can be... Okay, for those of you that don't want to be dealing with the heavy duty science for a couple of seconds, tune out for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes tops, that's it. The amount of water that can be held in suspension in the air is a finite resource that changes with many different various factors.
Correct.
The heat, the density, the amount... Heck,
even the wind.
The wind, yes.
It moves it around.
Yes. Now, in order to let's see if I remember correctly, the amount of the volume of air that would be necessary to condense a liter of water out of would be the equivalent of, oh God, if I remember this right, I think it was something on the order of the equivalent of 2 10-story houses, I think is what it was. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was an absurd volume of air.
Right. Okay. I'm going to guess here. Are you presuming that you're just leaving the bottle in one spot and letting it do its thing?
It doesn't matter if it's being left or anything. That's the volume of air that would be necessary to remove all of the water from and collect it into a vessel.
Okay.
In order to get what they're looking to get.
Okay. Maybe the bottle ends up getting a function where its best results are when it's strapped to one of those long distance bicycles that people travel on or go racing on, and that over time as they travel, it starts gaining little bits of water as the air goes blowing through it. What I'm saying is that we don't know how that concept will change. What we do know is that the technology will change, which will change its output, so to speak. Okay, and yes, we do have the variables of a bottle like that. Assuming you could actually make one with the current technology, and make it so that it's as efficient as it possibly can be with the current technology. And you take one out to a desert and you put the other on a rock near the ocean. Yeah, the one on the rock near the ocean is going to have a better time of it. That's a given. I'm never going to argue against that. I'm just saying is that when it comes to these ideas that revolve around technology, the possibilities are endless because we keep learning new science using one of the most wonderful tools science has to offer us, which is a scientific method. Okay, and things keep changing. How many years ago was it? All those scientists were saying hard drives are at their maximum density. And then IBM, or I think it was IBM, came out and said, hey, look, we figured out how if we do this, we can now quadruple the density of the platters of the hard drives.
Yeah, the beauty of science is the hold my beer concept. Because just when you think you've hit the limit, science goes, hey, hold my beer, I got something.
And of course, then you have all those people behind that one with the beer going, okay, you're all done. Let's see if we can break it or prove it that what you've just done is actually not what you said you did.
Yeah. And then sometimes it'll go, yeah, you know what? You actually did do it right. Circling back to the whole water bottle thing. Again, even if you had that perfect bottle, that it looked like what they showed in the videos. Like you said, if it's dependent on the humidity of the area,
which it will be.
Yeah.
And who knows? They may end up changing the design later on. It may be they may change the design to the point of where, okay, put it in a puddle and it will absorb the water through osmosis and purify it for you.
Okay. That's possible too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Great. No,
I don't know. Just as far as I'm concerned, if they were wanting to say that we need the money to develop a product, I think they should have done a lot more of the science first and said, this is where we're going with it. Instead of having a marketing manager throw out the Kickstarter, they should have had a scientist look at it and go, yeah, okay, you know what? This is where we're at. This is the path we want to pursue. Then I would have had no problem throwing a few bucks their way. Yeah, current technology, it's always evolving. Just in the past year since I've heard of the Hyperloop, I've seen it go from concept to really bad college tryouts to things are looking a little bit better, but they're not quite there yet, to Richard Branson is now in on it with money. And he's a dreamer like Musk. So who's to say it might come off in the next 10 to 15 years?
The Hyperloop may end up just being something predominantly utilized for moving freight. Musk pointed out early on when it was still in just the concept stage, when he was presenting the concept to the people, how great it would be to have something that could travel so fast with your fruits and vegetables and your raw resources and everything else. Think about it. Maybe the amount of time it takes a bunch of oranges from California to get to the East Coast, and now maybe you have a Hyperloop that actually can travel that far and cut your travel time in half. You now have a longer shelf life for your product.
Mm-hmm.
So, that I think is where the biggest first use with the Hyperloops will come from, is moving freight around the country.
I like the idea, and I hope it works. I hope they do pull it off.
Yeah, I hope he does too.
Yeah, Joe, whatever you want to say to close us out at this point on where we ended up or wherever, and I would just go ahead and shut us down at this point.
Well, see, that's the thing. Being the one who doesn't follow news very much lately, I have no idea what those two are talking about.
It's okay. But anything that you want to close it with, even if you want to, jump back to, where we started, topic-wise.
Well, like I said, differing opinion is a blessing and a curse, because it allows us to grow. But the magic trick to the entire thing is establishing situations where, yes, we have different ideas and beliefs and opinions, but we can express them respectfully amongst one another.
And if you look at the current political landscape of, say, the United States today, we've got all this division, and it's them or us, or we should be isolationists and all that. That's not what made America what we used to call the greatest country in the world. And I have to agree with a film excerpt that I can't remember the name of the film, but, guy blatantly said, look, America is not the greatest country in the world anymore. And guess what? It's not. We lost what made us great. And it's going to take work from everybody to get it back. That's my 2 bits.
No worries. As a matter of fact, I was just I know exactly the piece that you're referencing, and I'm trying to find it. I found the video, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna link it into the show notes. But that is something that is really, really super important. Trying to remember that as much, I don't know if anybody else has used it, but hyperpolarization, it seems like such an apt descriptor for this whole goddamn thing.
The Newsroom.
Okay. There's a piece of from that I want to read off, because it's so apt that what Joe just said, that we can have a vigorous and honest discussion without insulting each other, if only we would try and stop knee-jerk reacting, which is something that America as a country tends to be so. We here in the U.S. have such a hard-on for being reactionary instead of proactive. It sucks. It truly, truly does.
Yeah, instead of focusing on changing the conditions that created the killer in the first place, they focus on locking up the killer after the fact.
That's not exactly the best of pieces, but all right, we'll go with that for the moment.
Well, no, what I mean is that we in America, we focus on a lot. We worry more about our prisons. We worry more about taking action for problems after the problem has occurred, rather than trying to prevent the problem from occurring in the first place.
I see where he's coming from.
Yeah, hence why healthcare is such a big deal. Healthcare for everybody in the States would create a lot of preventative measures. And if you ask most healthcare companies, when somebody goes in for a healthcare checkup, just a standard preventative care checkup, right, where they go in, they get the okay, here's your temperature, have you had any history of this, that, and the other thing in the last 3-4 months, how are you feeling now, let's check your weight, your blood pressure, all those funny little things. That ends up tending to save money, because you tend to catch things early, less maintenance, less money, yada, yada, yada. So when you start nixing shit like that, you start creating the environment to have more problems rear their ugly head and end up costing more in human lives, in money, in resources, and all the things.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to go down that angle, because that's unfortunately right now, you know full well, the healthcare thing is such an incredibly polarizing item at the moment, with a whole
exactly bunch of like you said before, it's polarizing. Right. Because everybody has different ideas about what they should do. Some people do it politely, and others are mean.
The reason why I didn't want to go there is exactly because of that. Because we're going to go ahead and have people who are going to be, yeah, rah, and others who are going to be, F you, screw this noise. I wanted to deal with a different piece that is not on people's radar, but people would remember. Bridge maintenance. Remember that there was a baseball game, a championship baseball game that happened out in California, and there was a earthquake that happened, and piece of bridge fell apart.
Palm Springs, California, the I-10 closed after bridge collapses.
That was what, 98?
2015.
It was.
The collapse injured one person and stranded hundreds of motorists. Sunday afternoon. This was just the first thing that popped up when I put in bridge collapse in California.
It was the one I'm thinking of was specifically during one of the World Series games for baseball.
I think that was like 89 or 90, I think.
Anyway, the point thing is that, yes, you have to react to that, but there are other bridges whereby that infrastructure is falling apart and is decrepit by comparison and needs to be dealt with before bad things go boom and squashes and pancakes people.
1989 World Series, La Prieta earthquake occurred in Northern California, October 17th.
Okay,
and a double-decker bridge went
pancaked.
Yes, I remember that
part
one.
of it. Now, we have to respond when a bad thing happens like that. And because, I mean, come on, a piece of infrastructure just went boom, and with good enough reason. Earthquake. I mean, shit, you can't second guess that one. But when stuff is falling apart because it's just there and it's just normal wear and tear, and you ignore the wear and tear, sooner or later you're going to have to completely rebuild, and which is less money, fixing it up as you're going along, or just replacing an entire bridge.
Or hell, look at the water lines in various states and cities.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, that wasn't that long. That wasn't even that long ago.
Yes. Now, here's the quote from the vid, and like I said, this will be linked in the show notes. After going through the whole, what makes America great, and the guy went ahead and up there talked about a whole bunch of different things where we're not, amongst other things: literacy, math, life expectancy, fetal mortality rates. He went ahead and infant mortality rates. He went ahead and said this: we stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easily. He basically said, we went out there. We didn't go trying to score points on a card. We went out there to do the right thing. Part of the problem that we've run into is that everybody believes so damned much that they need to make those scores, and they've completely lost touch of the piece that's most important. That we are all, no matter what nationality, no matter what skin color, no matter what language or country of origin or level of education, we're human. Each and every goddamned one of us. Shouldn't we be working towards making all human life better? And by that angle, all life better. As always, everybody, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us and paying attention to all of our perspectives. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of what we've had to say tonight, and maybe come up with some other questions for yourselves or even for us for later. As always, everybody, thank you for being with me. Tech, thank you for your time. And yes, we've talked before that yes, every once in a while, maybe one of us has got to go ahead and get pounced on and be told, shut the fuck up. Yes, that's the fourth, fifth, it doesn't matter. And Tech knows full well, he's told me on occasion, if I need to tell him to shut up, I tell him to shut up. Isn't that right, Rocky? Fine, Ronnie James Dio it is. It's either that or he's it's either that or he's impersonating he's impersonating Kermit the Frog with his hand, and really,
why are there so many songs about rainbows?
You know,
Other side.
You want to go impersonating that you're fisting a Muppet? That's entirely your prerogative. It's late at night. I don't care. Thank you for
that's
your
a
time.
visual I don't need.
Yeah.
Well, there's Cookie Monster and Titty Monster. One wants cookies, one wants milk.
Really didn't need that tonight. Joey, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but thanks for your time and your consciousness this evening. Appreciate it.
It's about all I have left to give, really.
Oh, I don't know. Remember,
Platelets.
Well, I was about to say, remember, if you have to give all, you don't give 100% unless it's blood.
What was that line
blood.
from?
All of it.
Yeah, what was that line from Rich Little's Robin Hood? All right, give till it hurts. Okay, here's a penny. Boy, you sure can't stand pain.
I know exactly what he's referencing to, and thanks ever so much. Dalan, screw you, man. Screw you.
I don't know you that well.
And of course, while you're drinking out of your Timmy's mug over there, thank you very much for your time. And of course, you know, anything that you need to plug, because I know for well that there's a couple of items.
Yeah, just so you guys know, of course, we've got the audio version of this show available over at holycrapthevlogcast.com, which is now up to date, I think.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah, I might have missed last week, but that's okay. And of course, if you're ever interested in what I'm rambling on about sometimes, you can catch it over at inthewind.wile5.ca.
And as he mentioned, of course, all the social links as well as, you know, a bunch of other things are over there at holycrapthevlogcast.com. I'm occasionally trying to work on a couple of pieces over there. Slow going because I've got various different projects that are going. And unfortunately, since I've got so many of them trying to be done, it's slow because I can't concentrate on just one thing. Damn it. I try. I really do. Not very successfully. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail message, you can give a call on the line at 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. Who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll hear from somebody. And of course, as I mentioned before, if you want to check us over at Patreon, yes, you can go ahead and sign us over there on Patreon, which I should really write down on my quick notes thing over here. Damn it, that's one of those things. Anyway, it would be patreon.com/HCTV, and we'll see what we can do about for you for there. We've already had somebody who's contributed, and thank you. Your contribution is going to go towards server pricing. Well, actually, I had recently re-updated the server. Yeah, I re-updated the server pricing, so we're still good for another however long, and that's going towards that. So thank you, appreciate that. As always, we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys again next week. I don't know if I'll be able to get a guest. I'm going to be trying for, and if I can get them, I'm going to be pretty happy. It's somebody that I kind of know, but that's long story later. I'm a little bit tired, and I need to just get the hell out at this point. And over there over in the Discord chat, yeah, Layla, I did see it was 89, and thank you for that. Appreciate it. And over on the live chat, Stephanie and Aubrey, I know I had to disappear, but take care of yourself. And Trippin, don't know if you're still there, but thank you also. We'll be looking forward to seeing you next week, of course, as I mentioned. And in the meantime, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And of course, for my lady, over 12 years on, hun, I am still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.